Hello friend, welcome back to my channel. So this video is going to be a little bit different, a little bit more relaxed and less edited, kind of off the cuff. I kind of wanted to hang out with you guys today and talk about how I like to finish my paintings and what little finishing details I like to add to my art. Digital watercolor for me is more building up an effect of the painting style rather than trying to paint like you would with watercolor paints. This video is full of a lot of my favorite art tips and a lot of happy accidents. So I'm really excited to begin this, and I think I kind of want to make a series out of these. Definitely let me know below. So this painting is based off of a photograph I took of these really beautiful peach and yellow tulips from my friend's garden. I've been working on it now for a couple of weeks, so I'm super excited to be at the final stages here and share it with you. So one of the first things that I look for generally is the contrast. So I'm going to turn my paper layers off here. We're actually going to make a copy canvas layer and paste. I'm going to put this layer into black and white. And this is one of my absolute favorite ways to be able to see contrast in the painting. This will help you see your values quite a bit better as well. So right around here, this edge is looking a little too light. So I'm going to add a new layer and put that layer into soft light. And we're going to pick the color black. I'm going to go to my flat edge 1 brush here. Oh no, I guess I'm already on it. Duh. It's a little late when I am recording this. That seems to be my favorite time, is the middle of the night, and it always messes with my sleep. I don't know if you guys have this problem, but every time I use my iPad at night, I always have trouble sleeping. And I'm like, I know I shouldn't do this, but I'm going to do it anyways, and then complain about it. So I am going through here, and we're going to lightly touch up this edge, and I am going to go back in here in a minute and turn the opacity of this down. This is a little too dark. I just want to contrast the edge just a little bit more. So I am looking right here. It's looking a little too light. And because I do have these water runs through the painting, I'm just kind of bringing that up to the edge right next to them to kind of exaggerate it a little bit more. Then I'm going to bring out the edges right here. Kind of pull that tulip stem away from the background just a little bit more. And I don't want to make too many drastic changes because I am pretty happy with how the painting's looking. I just want to kind of pull out some extra little details here. It says little things. Mostly focusing in here on trying to break up areas that are too light or areas that have a lot of similar values that don't have a whole lot of contrast in them. Sometimes we can't really see this when we're painting in color, so the black and white really helps to exaggerate it. So I highly recommend doing that in your paintings. And then when you turn the black and white off, it'll create a much more dynamic looking painting. Especially in areas like this here in the background where I've got all of this light coming from, trying to pull out some of the tulip stems from the background just a little bit more. That way they don't look like just floating tulips. A little bit more contrast on some of these back flowers. And I meant for them to be kind of distant and out of focus, but when we put this back into color, you'll see how big a difference it makes. I've been really trying to figure out what else to add to my channel. So if you guys have any ideas of things that you'd like to see from the channel, I thought it'd be kind of fun to do this too, to get a little bit more personal and to put a little bit more of myself into it. I love doing the tutorials. They take so long, and I don't have a whole lot of time. I don't have a whole lot of time. I really want to spend more time with my artwork this year and next year. Trying to focus on maybe making it more into a business. Isn't that the great artist debate? How to turn what you do into a business and keep it fun. That's a huge thing. And I talk to myself enough where I'm like, okay, these little crazy thoughts I have going around in my head might be amusing, or maybe not. Maybe it'll be completely boring. I don't know. But I thought it might be kind of fun to do something a little bit more personal. I don't know that I really want to put my face on this channel. Maybe at some point I will. I'm never going to say never. I like anonymity, but also I love talking to people, so, and sharing the word salad that happens in my head. So these darker areas too, with the kind of effect with the brushes that I'm using, it's that really dark next to the light, which will really create that watercolor effect, which is so difficult to do in digital painting, but I find using layer overlays is going to be your best friend. And so in the underpainted layers, I build up a lot of my color and detail there, and then I go over the top of all of these details and build up a layer of lighter colors, which seems kind of like I'm erasing all of the hard work that I did, but by using the overlays and very sparingly with dark colors, like most of the time I just use black, I can add those details back in, but now it adds texture back over the top and creates contrast against the lighter areas, which really helps to add to the watercolor effect to it. And from a user perspective, it kind of feels like using real watercolor, which I love, where I'm just adding more paint pigment through the layering process to the canvas to darken my colors. So here you can see how big a difference adding all of these little dark areas really added to it in color. Okay, so what I'm going to do next, I'm going to switch over to the blending tool. My test watercolor is actually just a slightly more fluid version of the vintage watercolor, and I am using Angry Miko's Watercolor for Bears watercolor brushes. I'm absolutely obsessed. This is not a sponsorship of any kind, but I love these brushes, and I've been pretty much using them ever since they came out. So I can't recommend them enough. I think they're like $10, and I think he still sells them on Gumroad. Can't recommend them enough. I love them. And now I'm just going to kind of lightly blend back out some of this dark color, just kind of taking away any of the sharp edges. We want a really fluid look to it. Yes, and kind of get these really fun little ink bleeds. And I'm going to take, because I want a little bit more of a water bleed effect, I'm going to kind of exaggerate that right there. And then blend that out. Never be afraid to experiment, because you might find something that surprises yourself. And it was actually kind of an accident when I started doing the water runs, and now I am kind of obsessed with them. I would say that I'm in my runs era, but that sounds really weird. So I'll just say I like ink bleeds. That sounds a little better. Oh gosh, it's late. Okay, so the next thing that I generally look for, I'm going to put the black and white layer on. I'm going to add some more light areas. So we're going to go to my Precise watercolor pencil. And this is just an adjustment. I don't even remember. I think it's just Precise watercolor, this one. And I altered the brush just a little bit. So that's all there is to that one. I'm going to put this to white. I'm going to put this layer into overlay so it's really nice and bright. And I'm just going to, let's make that a little bit bigger. We're just going to clean up that edge here just a little bit. Just add in some nice little highlights to the edge. And I absolutely love this brush. I don't even remember what I did to it to adjust it. Oh, I think I changed the size of it. I wanted a little bit smaller than the brush was originally capable of. And that's something I could do a video on. That's actually a really good idea. Sometimes there are some brushes that you absolutely love, but they're either not capable of going small enough or big enough. And that is really easy to change. So I should do a video on that. Let me know below. So here I am going in and kind of pulling out the edge of this petal just a little bit, and I'm balancing, going back and forth between the blending brush and the paintbrush, just kind of marrying that edge and softening that up with the vintage paintbrush. So that I'm still using vintage watercolor, and this one, the Precise watercolor. It's all of these little touches that will really bring your flowers out. Oops, will help if I'm using my paintbrush. it's all of these little dips too. So I know this is a weird thing, but I absolutely live for these little dips in flower edges. I think they're so pretty and so unique. That's probably a weird thing, but I am a little weird. I'm also not like overlining. I don't want to like go too ham on it and make, a big thick line. I mean, I could, but it kind of takes some of the delicateness away. And I feel like, so I start with all of the big details and then work my way small. And actually when I am first painting, I don't even let myself use small brushes. That way I don't make small decisions lead to big things sometimes, so we save the small ones for very last, if that makes sense. I don't want to paint too small yet and lock myself into anything. So I feel like back here we need a little bit more lightness, so I'm going to add some highlight. And these two, I'll share some more pictures here. Maybe I'll share them here at the end. But this garden, the day that I took this on, it was so gorgeous. And it made me so mad because there was a bunch of kids who were new. I don't even know where they belonged, but they were not where they should. And I came out and they were ripping the tulips up out of the garden. And it's a whole thing. And not to go into it too much, it was a neighborhood problem. But I am so glad that I got pictures of them when I did, because they only were there for about a day before they were viciously ripped up. Poor tulips. These were, so these tulips were from Mackinac Island in Michigan. The lady that I used to work for got these tulips from a client, and they came from the Grand Hotel, who were just throwing the bulbs away. And I was like, no way. And they are still so beautiful when they bloom, but I was so glad that I got pictures of them before they were decimated. Weird little tangent anyways. And I'm going to go back through and add some highlights along here. Ooh, okay. It's when those little blips happen, that's the magic of painting. I'm going to sharpen that little edge up there. I kind of love that, and I may actually incorporate that into the rest. Ooh, this has given me an idea. We're going to come back here, kind of sharpen up, and kind of skipping spots too, rather than going, like this. I'm kind of just going in with a really light hand, and I am angling my pencil a little bit too, and kind of just drawing out those highlights. This is one of my absolute favorite parts of finishing any flower painting, is these tiny little highlights. I wanted to do some live streaming, but I generally don't have the time. And so I thought this might be kind of a fun second choice, and it kind of takes the pressure off of me a little bit too, not having to feel like I need to perform. But I want to bring more content that's a little bit more me and a little less edited, because I feel like we live in a world that is so highly edited. Everything is so filtered and fake, and then don't even let me start on the whole AI issue. That is I feel like it has its place, but it has, and honestly, because I used to love being on the gram, and I still do, and I have lots of wonderful friends and people that I've met through Instagram, but it's kind of made me feel sad, and I tried to make, and I think it's easy to get sucked into that, where I felt like I needed to create videos. I don't work well with the short form content. I don't know if you guys are like that too, but my brain doesn't work like that. I love consuming it. I think I work a little bit better when it feels a little bit more real and personal. And I know I am hyper close up. I probably paint a lot closer with too bright a screen. I don't know if you guys do that. Let me know. below. And this is the first time I've done anything like this, so I'm sure it'll get easier, but you have to let me know below if you enjoyed this video or not. We're going around this edge. And this one will be a little bit more dramatic because it is the closest flower. Ooh, I just erased it. Okay. That does happen. And I want just a little bit more detail right there. Actually, no, I'm going to erase it a little bit. Let's turn the opacity down. Most of the time when I use the eraser brush, I'm using it with the soft airbrush. Just kind of like it's sun-kissed. That's kind of the effect. Like the light is just barely brushing the edges. Okay, so since I really liked this little dot effect, I'm going to add a new layer. We're going to put that into overlay. And that's the kind of the fun thing about this, because I really didn't have any like plans for it to happen. It just kind of happened. Oh, that's way too light. Let's do like 81%. And I'm just going to put, that may have been a little too dark, just sporadic dots here and there, just to kind of break up those areas. Ooh, I like that too. And adding these little areas of light within the dark we just added really creates some nice contrast. I think I know a lot of artists do this, especially when we start off. We are so afraid of being messy with our art and really using texture to our advantage. I think it's really easy to fall into that trap of wanting everything to be too smooth and too perfect and too round. And in the digital world we live in, I think it's so easy to compare our art to all of those amazing, beautiful things we're inundated with every day, and it can be kind of overwhelming. But I think what really sets you apart is not being afraid of trying new things and finding ways of bringing you and your story into the process. And I think that's what really makes the difference. And I always keep that in mind when I'm painting. Like, I have an idea of kind of where I want my painting to go and to be, but then somewhere halfway through it turns into something else. And part of our journey with our art is being able to trust your gut and explore those places that might get a little bit messy or unknown. It's really stepping outside of that comfort zone is where you truly start to grow. It's not just a painting of flowers, it's a collection of all of your experiences and thoughts and decisions up to that point, and I think that's what makes art so special. Yes. Yeah, I really like the dots. Let's see without the dots here. And that's with. It just kind of adds a nice little texture here. And here is without the highlights. And there's without. So it does make a little bit of a difference. And one of the last major things I think I'm going to do to this painting is exaggerate the ink bleeding effect just a little bit more. And I'm going to mostly focus on the edges of the petals and incorporating some of that outer lighter color inwards just a little bit more to create a little bit more balance. And now I'm going to lightly blend these out. And I did put these extra ink bleeds on a separate layer, and I think it's in normal mode when I did it. They are on a separate layer, that way I don't affect the colors underneath of them in this part. Life has been, the water runs kind of were an accident, and it's something that I really enjoy now in my artwork. And I feel like now my paintings aren't quite done without them. And here you'll see me playing with different overlay modes, and I think I ended up going with soft light for this. That way it's a little bit softer and a little less opaque than normal mode is. It just kind of makes it look a little bit nicer and a little bit more watercolor-ish. And now that I've got a majority of the painting done, I'm actually going to flip my canvas and paint in reverse. And I definitely recommend occasionally flipping your paintings because it'll help reveal any imbalances that you might not see when it's flipped on the side that you're painting it on. It helps so much. Let's add one more layer. Let's put it into soft light, switch over to black. I'm going to add a little bit of pop of color right there. And that's why I love using layering, because this will really bring out the watercolor effect from the brushes. It'll add a lot more contrast to the texture we just added. And I do this really sparingly too because it can kind of overtake your painting really fast and kind of ruin the effect. So definitely less is more when it comes to adding these little water bleeds here at the end. Okay, I want to see, we're going to do a copy canvas here and paste. Ooh, what is this? What on earth have I done? Oh, I don't know, but I really like it. See, weird things can happen unexpectedly. Just one of those weird moments where you double the right layer in the right place at the right time. That was definitely not planned, but what I accidentally did was take a screenshot of the entire canvas with the paper layer, and then when I inserted it, it still has the paper layer over top of it, so we're getting double paper layers, which really helped to exaggerate the watercolor effect even more, and that was something I wasn't even planning, so I'm super happy with how this came out. I hope you guys enjoyed this impromptu video. I had a lot of fun making it, and I hope you were able to take something away from it. I definitely think I want to do more of these here. Every single watercolor painting I do is different, and I think that's truly the key. It's just to experiment and to try all of the things to find your style and what you enjoy along the journey. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video and want to see more content like this, I invite you to like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, friend, happy painting.